Yo, what's up, YouTube? We're back. We're back, man. We're back with some dev diary-ish type stuff. Okay, and for this is probably gonna be like a 0.5 episode, but what I want to do with this is kind of go over some of the stuff that I may have not even discussed coming up with, but I've kind of cut since maybe coming up with it, or since it's inception at the beginning, like when we started all this. But I wanted to go over a few things alongside drinking this pumpkin spice coffee I have, which is delicious. I know there's some pumpkin spice haters out there. Shameful. Okay, so a few of the weapon types. So I had originally, I believe it was 17 weapon types, and I got rid of at least 4, right? Actually, maybe I had a lot more than that. Isn't there a thing where it'll tell you? Yeah, count 18. Okay. So I think I want to say I had 21. Let's open RPG Maker MZ and we'll see how many I had total. I believe I had 21. Now, there were some weapon types that seemed like they were a little redundant, right? You know, when you get into this and you first start messing with RPG Maker, you're like, man, I want to make just everything, right? I want it all. It's all got so many items and this and that, and classes and weapons and maps up. And then you realize that a lot of that stuff's unnecessary. You know? Yeah, we had 21 weapon types and we're down to 18. So I got rid of 3. And the 3 that I got rid of are the let's double check here. I think it was the fist, actually. Yeah, the fist, the heavy sword, and the scepter, I believe, are the 3 that I got rid of. So the fist, heavy sword, and scepter are all gone. And the reason that is fist kind of is the same thing as claw and glove. There's no reason to have that as an extra, option when they're pretty much identically the same thing. They're going to be equipped by the same classes. Seems a little, it seems a little unnecessary. Same way with the heavy sword. My thought process for the heavy sword was light sword was going to be all about multiple hits, but your accuracy is lower. Long sword was going to be, 100% accuracy, and it was going to focus on critical hits. Heavy sword was just going to be like just crazy damage, right? Just high damage. But it lowered your agility and defense, maybe. So it's a trade-off, right? Like you could do high DPS, but you lose some stats. Now, it got to the point where between the dagger and all the way up to the heavy sword, there's like there's so many blade weapons, so many what seemed to essentially be DPS style weapons, where it's like I don't know. I think this is too much. I think the light sword and the long sword are already close enough to the same. To have a heavy sword on top of it just didn't seem to make a lot of sense. Same way with staff and scepter. Staff and scepter just sounded like exactly the same thing. There's not really any reason to have that, so I got rid of those. Let's see, that is the professions. Now stats, I don't think I changed any of this. I'm not sure if we went over all the classes and what they do. We'll do that at another time. I did come up with 2 unique classes, the biologist and the gambler. The biologist is essentially your blue mage style class, except every monster can drop these DNA samples. Once you get a certain amount of DNA samples, or something, a mechanic like that, once you get a certain amount of this drop from the monster, you can then craft something that captures that monster's essence, and it basically turns into a skill, right? You either get an item that gives you a skill, or maybe there's a vendor you go to that says, hey, I've fought 50 of this thing, something like that. The gambler is a lot of time in the older Final Fantasy games, gamblers kind of bet money to do more damage, right? The higher the money you gave, the more damage you do. This, I think, is going to be basically just random odds on damage, and depending on a stat that you can level up at your home base through a particular vendor by investing money in them, your probability of rolling a high number to do more damage goes up, that kind of thing. I mean, the rest of these are fairly self-explanatory anyways. I wanted to go through the overview and see if anything has changed, because we've changed a lot of stuff. All of this is essentially the same. I decided to change the ability to use old RTP. So RTP from RPG Maker, MV, VX Ace, XP, stuff like that. I got rid of that. I want to use what's in the system. If somebody were to buy this today, they could make this game. That's what I want to do. I'm actually in the process of learning JavaScript, so I will be making scripts, but they won't be for this game. In-game systems. Let's see what we have for in-game systems. Class system through equipable accessories. We do have mechanics. Okay, we do have this listed, ready to go, but I want to revisit this. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 accessory slots. That's on top of head, body, legs, and chest armor. And that sounds like way too much. Head, body, wrist. Oh, wrist is one of them. What did I call it in the doc? Head, body, legs, and chest. So let's change body to chest. But yeah, it's too much. There's way too many. So initially, I like the concept of the mana card. Mana cards are accessories that drop fairly frequently, modeled after in-game characters and monsters that offer bonus stats, abilities, or buffs and debuffs. So you could get, Samantha. Samantha's one of our main characters, right? You could get a Samantha mantra card or mana card, which essentially would give you, let's say it gives you, plus 100 defense, minus 30 magic attack, something like that. A big trade-off. Or no, mana cards were just buffs. Jeez, I don't even know my own game, man. But let's say that this gives you maybe 10 defense, and it gives you some sort of status effect that gives you aggro or something like that, right? Now relics were what I was just talking about, where let's say you found what's a good relic? An old samurai helmet. Let's say you find this old samurai helmet. This samurai helmet maybe gives you plus 100 attack, but minus 200 agility, right? Something like that. A big trade-off. Minus 200 luck, like a big buff, like a big stat buff, but a big stat debuff too. A big stat loss. The ability to level up a weapon up to level 3. I think we're gonna do up to level 3 and then a level beyond that where it is mastered, so that every piece of equipment in the game can get up to a master level that has the same attack across the board. The only differences would be these things that I've listed here for weapon names, where they had their element, and maybe they have like, this that has wind and poison element, and it's a double hit weapon, something like that. Now let's go back to mechanics. Dream layers, still plan on doing dream layers. This is really important to me. If players grind dream layers for 2 to 3 runs, they should have a very straightforward and relatively easy path in terms of difficulty to finish the current chapter. My plan is to have these dream layers unlocked, either early in a chapter or halfway through, so that the way the progression works is you would play through the story as normal. You get to a dream layer. If you spend any amount of time, if you do that dream layer more than one time, if you do it anywhere from like 2 to 10 or infinite number of times, you should be adequately leveled up to go through the rest of that chapter without facing like a whole lot of difficulty challenges. There should still be difficulty, but I want the majority of the difficulty and the difficult content to be within the dream layers, to give you more cool loot and stuff like that. The home base, I don't think anything has changed for the home base for me. The concept of the home base and how I'm going to fit it into the story has changed in a way, but we'll talk about that in a second. I have a separate document for that. I need to condense some of these documents down too. But all of these, these are all NPC ideas that I came up with that could go in the base. So an NPC that gives you let's say the loot that you get out of a chest is based off this hidden value that's set in a variable, right? Let's say you have a chest that gives you a potion, and you go to this vendor, and this vendor's like, I'm, a master thief, and I can tell you, or, I can teach you how to find hidden compartments and treasure chests and stuff. And they, you level them up once. Now that chest that would have given you an HP tonic now gives you a super HP tonic. Level it up again, now it gives you an ultra HP tonic. Level it up again, mega, so on and so forth. You see where I'm going. I think that would be a really cool system. It encourages you to engage with the base and, level your stuff up. Like, it's encouraging you to involve yourself with that mechanic. An NPC that can let you rest for free, that's great. An NPC that offers valuable key items. This is something that we don't want the player to miss. So this will be the key item for auto battle, the key item for fast travel, the key item for... Oh, I had other key items in mind. I can't remember what they are now, but I'll deal with them when I get there. An NPC that sells mana cards, if we decide to keep those in there. Let's just do this now. So class artifact. The class rune is the currently equipped. This should be artifact. The class artifact is the currently equipped class. Artificat. What did I spell? Artificat? Class Memento is the class that isn't equipped, whose abilities you would want to use. We may come up with another system for this. Because I want to give the player the ability to have 2 different job skills at the same time. But I don't want, this sounds like so many accessories, because you're going to have, the way I envision in my head is you're going to have the class artifact. Wait, what if, can you make an accessory 2 different, or an item 2 different types, where it be specialty items? Is it, what is it under? Is it under armor? Oh, it is under armor. Yeah. So you can't make it multiple types, I don't believe. Equip armor. Yeah. So you would have to have a secondary, you know, a secondary accessory in order to be able to have a particular class's abilities. I haven't come up with a way to solve this yet, but I'm gonna keep thinking about it. I want it to be fairly straightforward. I don't want it to sound ridiculous. You know, I definitely don't want to go down the route where, let's say the artifact for the swordsman class is the warrior's sword, right? Let's say that's the artifact to unlock the swordsman class. I don't want to have to give you both the warrior's sword relic and the warrior's sword memento. That, you know, that seems ridiculous. Even if you call it something different, I don't want to have to give the player 2 different items to be able to mix and match skill. So we may see, maybe if you can get a class to level a certain level, you can go to a vendor. They say, hey, you're level 50 of this class. Let me permanently teach you this skill. And then you can just have any skill you want from any of the classes. I'm not sure. That sounds like you might be a little bit OP. Sounds like you might be a little bit OP. I mean, you're just getting the skills though. I mean, you're not getting the stats. So let's say you get all this powerful magic, but you're a tank, a physical tank. All that magic's not really gonna do anything for you, right? So I don't know. I'll think on that. I think that's probably the direction that we'll lean, but I'll continue to think on that. What we may do is, instead of, we may do a combination of both, where you get a class up to a certain level, then you get the class memento, something like that. I don't know. We may lock mementos behind dream layers. That might be the way to go, to unlock mementos behind dream layers. Yeah, I think we're gonna do that. Also, I think we're gonna get rid of the relics, and I think we're gonna go specifically or exclusively with mana cards outside the class stuff. Yeah, let's do that. We'll do mana cards for the big buffs and debuffs. Beautiful. There it is. All right, class relics, and then your class memento lets you use the ability without any of the stats. Do we want to make this mana cards? I don't know if I want to go with a card mechanic. I mean, that, you know, the card mechanic sounded cool at the time, but I might come up with something else. You know, I like the word relic and rune. We may do, yeah, let's do runes. We might bring the left wrist rune and right wrist rune back. That's kind of a nod to Suikoden. Suikoden 1 or 2, I think is what I said. Might have, you know, you have a rune on each hand. Yeah, I don't know. I'll think some more about this. But yeah, let's see. Sells relics, an NPC that sells upgraded materials. So we'll end up having 3 upgrade materials total, and the upgrade materials are going to be used in conjunction with a system or a script that came with the game. So it is fair use under our rules here, but it was DLC. It was in the DLC folder. Dude, my mustache is so itchy today. Item combined scene, that's the one. Let's see here. What else we got? An NPC that sells already upgraded weapons. You know, maybe that's an optional NPC that you can find. An NPC that teaches special skills, like one-off skills that don't belong to any single class. An NPC that unlock unique classes like the gambler and the biologist, maybe. An NPC that sells items to make money for your base over time. You know, maybe they create goods and sell them to different cities and stuff. They make money from that. They give you a cut because you give them a place to live. An NPC that offers you alternate character skins. This is an easy one. It's cool, you know, for player customization. So I like that. And an NPC that will make monster auras from DNA for the biologist class. Like I said, that's another mechanic I've got to iron out in my head. So we went over that. Weapon names. I want to go over this real fast. So I want there to be some default consistencies in the weapon, right? So we have wooden club, wooden mace, steel club, steel mace, silver club. You get the picture. All of the weapons have these 5 basic names. Now you can kind of see that there's also these other names that are in kind of, these are not quotations, apostrophes. I don't know. They're, you know, quoted we'll just say they're quoted. They have specific names, and these specific name weapons are going to be rare-ish weapons. Most of them acquired in Dream Layers. You know, we'll have them acquired throughout regular gameplay as well, but most of them acquired in Dream Layers. And what I want for these weapons is I want them to either be very powerful at a cost or provide some utility. So you can kind of see these weapons don't offer any elemental advantages, but then you get down to like weaponized torch and it's fire, and we could make it multiple elements. We can make it fire and earth. Actually, I like that. You know, we can make that fire and earth, and so you know you can get that advantage on an enemy. I plan on having enemy weaknesses. Oh, excuse me. Enemy weaknesses next to enemy names. Let's see. And some of these are nods to, you know, things that I have seen in my life or that I like. For instance, 2 for 1. That is, you know, it's like a bat in my head. It's a bat, and for some reason when I was thinking bat, I was thinking that moment in The Walking Dead where Negan kills both Glenn and Abraham, and then I came up with a 2 for 1, and it's dark element. I don't know why I thought like for a mace having a giant block of ice on the end would, you know, suck to be hit by, but there it is. You know, twin serpents is it like a double chained, double maced mace. So you got the twin serpents. When I write the executioner, when I think of axe, I think of like medieval times. It's, you know, black mask executioner just chopping heads off. Let's see, there's a couple of these that I wanted to point out. Vampire Hunter, Castlevania, right? It's a whip weapon. Frederick 13, Friday the 13th, claws, or Friday the 13th, Freddy, claws. Mutant Genes, Wolverine, because they're claws. What were some other ones? There was one other one I know for this one, Spirit of Basil. Basil was a town in the it's like a castle town, or I guess it's technically a region. The city's name is Basil, and they're called the Knights of Basil, but I think the surrounding region's kind of called Basil as well. It's hard to explain. But basically, there's this knighthood of Basil. You meet this character named Lavitz. He was one of my favorite characters, and it was like devastating when he died, like Aerith level of devastating when the character died very early in the game. So, Spirit of Basil. And his element was wind in the game, so we got wind there. Sniper, you know, you got red dot like a sniper, you know. Staff, Whitebeard, Gandalf, obviously. So I'm still working on more named weapons. I want there to be far more named weapons than standard weapons. I think the role that I want standard weapons to play is if you don't engage with the Dream Layers, you can just buy the standard weapons for gold and not have to worry about the rest of these. You know, what do we got next? Okay, so I have made some character bios here, mostly to organize story points in my head. I think I've already shown this on one video, I believe, but it's, you know, very, very straightforward. Personality, backstory, current motivations. I'm fairly certain I laid this out on my last video. It's been a little while since I made that video, so excuse me if I've gone over this before. We got the timeline. So this is to help me know what I need to do as far as filling things out in the engine, or creating cutscenes and stuff in the engine. So as far as what is made right now, this is what is currently made. We've got to still make the rest of this. Keep going. Yeah, we still got to make the rest of this. And the rest of that involves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different maps and the world map. 5, you know, town or area maps and the world map. So it's going to take some time. But I do have the prologue, the rest of the prologue, and the entire first chapter completely mapped out. We just have to create it. Let's take a look through here again. See what we got. The pet system, you know, it's kind of what the biologist turned into, or what turned into the biologist, but I haven't gone much further with that. That's one of those things where I'm going to have to test it out as I play the engine to see what feels good. Every enemy encounter should mean something. Very, very adamant about that. We're going to have lots of experience boosting items while you're just fighting enemies that you can use on other classes. Quality of life features, that's pretty important too. So let's see what else we've got here. I struggled for a little bit with what I wanted to call the game's healing items, and I don't know why I went with tonic. I think I was inspired by Chrono Trigger. I could have done the standard potion, but I decided not to do that. So here we got tonics. And then, so I tried to like, once you get up to mega, it's kind of hard to get to come up with more adjectives that seem like they get bigger, right? Giga is for all allies and Colossal is for all allies. And obviously I'll make a Giga and Colossal for MP tonics. I want these boosters that give you stats. These boosters will mostly be found within the dream layers, which is once again the repeatable dungeons. So this will be stuff that you can kind of grind out and get randomly to make your character stronger. And then there's a random booster as well, which I think is pretty cool. I love items like that in games. And then we have our bring allies or an ally or allies back to life. And then I think we're gonna go with this as a tutorial system, textbook. You can go to your key items and use those, and then there you go. This is the last thing that I think I have to show you all. So I've got to go back through and redo it with all the names that we've come up with in that doc once I finish out the names. But I've got this laid out, with all the stats and everything I would need to input into the engine. But I said this before, but we're gonna have a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, and a master. We definitely don't want, it's going to be an interesting mechanic to deal with, because I think we're going to get to the point where we either have to have different upgrade items for different weapons, which I don't want, or the players are going to get, if they get a +1 in the end game, they're going to be able to level it up to like +3 as soon as they get it, because they already have the upgrade materials. Unless we make those upgrade materials mostly available in the dream layer. So I think that's kind of the direction that we'll go, but there's still a lot of things that are undecided. But I kind of wanted to show you all each of these things, how I have them laid out. I've been working on things in the background. We will get back to this. Is there anything we need to like delete out of here? Classes or anything? We need to add. Let's add a unique section, and then we'll create the biologist. And I want to put a question mark here because we have not set the stats. And gambler. That'll remind me later to come back and set the stats. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff left to do. A lot of stuff left to do, which is okay. That's a good problem to have. I like how in here they have in brackets what kind of weapon it is. I really like that. Bardici. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for this 0.5 video, if you will. The socials are in the description. That is Twitter and Twitch. I'll be uploading another one of these soon. I really want to work on the game some more, but there's a lot of stuff that I need to finish in the background. For instance, it was kind of hard to continue on with this, with there being no guidelines for the rest of the prologue and chapter 1. Now that we have that, it'll be a lot easier to go through here. I have characters that we made in the last video. Let's take a look here. Who all did we make? Oh, we can go, we have it in a scene. Characters appear. We made all the way up to Opal. We need at least 3 more characters to appear here. They'll probably be later game characters, and maybe not all of them will even appear here. Maybe we'll just have a random set of characters appear here in relation to their role in the story. Some of the most important characters may not even be here. Who knows? So, but that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys for hanging out. A like and a subscribe would be great. I would very, very much appreciate it. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye.